In the House of the Dragon TV show, we get our first dragon-on-dragon battles in the Song of Ice and Fire universe. It's unknown if these types of battles were common in Old Valyria, but considering the monopoly the Valyrians had on dragons and the cost of dragon battles, they were probably rare. Going off of the show and the books, we can come up with the best strategy on how someone would be superior in a dragon war like the one in Fire and Blood. There are many things to consider when conducting a dragon war. Things such as the economics of it, how human armies play a role, dragon riders, and the actual dragon-on-dragon fighting, and much more. Dragons in this universe do not have 4 legs, but instead have 2 rear legs and 2 wings used as 4 legs like a bat. They also have strong jaws, sharp teeth, claws, and leathery wings. Their necks are long and they have horns on the top of their heads. They are born around the size of a cat and will never stop growing if they have enough freedom and food. Their scales are not entirely, but are nearly immune to flames. Their eyes are the most vulnerable area, and unlike most dragons of myth, their underbelly scales are just as strong as the scales on the rest of their bodies. And their scales only get stronger as they age. The exact age of how long dragons live is not completely clear, but it does seem that they tend to live up to and around 200 years old. Dragons spend much of their free time resting and saving energy. When it comes to dragon behavior, they do not hunt in packs and they are highly independent. They are extremely territorial, however, they do not travel very much. They tend to stay in one place. This is to save energy due to the massive calorie intake that they must eat in order to support their size. However, when waging a dragon war, you are required to use them at higher than normal rates, and this can be an extremely economic cost as seen in the TV show and the books. The economic cost of all wars should be top priority because it ultimately determines who can come out on top. In the context of a dragon war, by forcing your enemy to overuse their dragons, you can cause enough financial strain to win the war without even having to engage in direct battle. Because of this, one would have to consider the cost of operating their dragons before anything else can happen. The larger dragons should only be used in times of absolute need, such as times when other dragons are directly involved or to engage with large army formations. They should be strategically placed in key locations and kept as reserve to only be used when needed. They are simply just too costly to operate. Smaller dragons are a much lower cost to keep active and should be used for mostly recon and engagements with small troop formations. They will play a key role in information gathering and harassing the enemy. Medium-sized dragons should be used for most of the heavy fighting against armies and other similar-sized dragons, only doing a limited amount of patrolling in key locations. Using them like this will help to mitigate the problem of food resources. But dragon war for a long period of time is just too financially expensive, and all attempts to end the war quickly should be used. If the other side overuses their large dragons for simple tasks like patrolling, recon, or engaging in small army formations, they will exhaust their food supply and will be dealing with a much larger problem than just the war. When it comes to human armies, they are extremely vulnerable to any type of dragon attacks. Certain large ballistas can be used in defense and perhaps spears and arrows if the dragon gets close enough, but damage will be limited, especially on larger dragons. Large army formations should be avoided at all cost. Armies would be divided into smaller formations and travel at night or in cover, and only do hit and run tactics unless guarded by a dragon. Also, keep in mind that just because you have a dragon with you, it doesn't mean your army will automatically win a battle. Dragons have to get close enough to an army to blow fire at them, which does put them in range of certain weapons that can hurt them, so head-on attacks should be avoided, and dragon riders should use some caution and work more as support to the ground forces. A good tactic to wear down your enemy is doing hit and run on key enemy positions with troops and smaller dragons. This would force them to call up their larger dragons in response. Endlessly harassing them would make them overuse their larger dragons. This will make it difficult for them to feed the large bellies of the dragons, as they will be overactive. No doubt the other side will try similar tactics, so you must be wise on what is worth responding to with your larger dragons. It is rare for a human to kill a dragon, but a well-placed ballista or an arrow in the eye can accomplish this. As well as seen in the book Blood and Fire, a large group of many people using a range of weapons like axes, spears, and swords can kill a dragon. However, this would happen only in a rare circumstance, like a dragon being trapped in an area that it cannot fly in. At the end of the day, most dragons die of old age or while fighting another dragon. Because of this, defensive ballistas can be prepared, but engagement of armies against dragons should be avoided at all cost. There is a lot of magic involved in both the dragons hatching and bonding to their dragon riders, but the specifics of these are not completely known. However, we do know that there is almost always some type of a blood sacrifice to get a dragon to hatch. Dragons are also tied to the magical effects of the world around them, having difficulty being born and growing up strong when the magical forces of the world are at their weakest. It is uncertain what magical devices or spells could be used in the context of dragons, both in creating and controlling them. There are rumors of things from old Valyria, such as magical horns and binding spells that can control dragons. No doubt learning how the original dragon riders bonded themselves to the dragons could play a key advantage in the war. The Valyrians seem to have a more powerful means of controlling their dragons, and learning more about this magic would be of great advantage, possibly even creating new dragon rider bloodlines. Once a dragon has a rider, it won't allow anyone else to mount it. Only after the rider dies can it bond with a new rider, and no rider has ever taken two dragons at once, but can only take another dragon after theirs has died. Dragons are only tamed and have never fully been domesticated, but once a dragon has had one rider before, it is often more easy for it to bond with a new one. The relationship between dragon and dragon rider is never one of complete control by either party. Dragon riders are extremely rare, and no doubt this is a huge bottleneck in the war. Finding anyone with the right bloodline, as done in the TV show and the book, should be a standard. However, you should be cautious because you are handing over an extremely dangerous weapon to someone that you might not completely trust. As well, sending assassins to take out a dragon rider should be a normal tactic. This would be ideal over facing them on their dragon in the battlefield. When it comes to the actual dragon on dragon fighting, things can get complicated real quick. Dragons will obey their dragon riders if you give them simple commands, like fire, attack, calm down, or something else along those lines. But they can easily ignore their dragon rider and just start attacking if they feel so inclined. And you can't really direct them much in specific fighting styles due to the lack of communication ability. So once they get in direct contact with another dragon, there will be little control of them at that point. Perhaps you could train the dragon to go for specific body parts, or even directly attack the other dragon rider. However, once they are engaged, you are pretty much at the mercy of the two dragons and which one comes out on top. The real strategy is what we do leading up to the actual contact and using our surroundings. Getting a surprise attack on one of the vulnerable spots on the dragon is our best option. Both Rhaenys and Aemon used this tactic in Season 2, Episode 4. Both of them were able to maneuver their dragon for surprise attacks. The best advantage would be a surprise attack from above. You would be free of the other dragon's claws and can attack its back, wings, and head. This would be the most advantaged position to be in. As well, we also know that dragon riders can have several passengers on their dragon. If you take advantage of this, you could position several well-trained archers on the dragon with the dragon rider. If you could take out the other dragon rider with a well-placed arrow that may cause the dragon to break off and flee. You could also aim for the eyes and head of the dragon. This would be difficult and require the most skilled archers, but well worth it if a well-placed shot hits. There are also a lot of dirty tricks that could be used in the War of Dragons, such as using poison weapons, or destroying the enemy's food supplies so that they cannot feed their dragons, or doing things such as attacking a sleeping dragon. There are many creative cheap shots that you could come up with. But at the end of the day, dragon battles are extremely messy, and we should leverage everything outside of the actual dragon fighting first. But what are your thoughts? Is there stuff I missed, or do you think there is a better strategy to effectively launch a dragon war? Thanks a lot, and have a wonderful day.